Hello, everyone. This is Doug Davis, broker in charge at Crombie Realty, and here with another Ask Doug. And if you're enjoying these, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. No pain in subscribing, no cost. Anyway, um, today, actually about an hour ago, someone asked me about their wall in the back of their property, and it brought up all sorts of interesting thoughts that might be relevant for you in the future, or maybe you're dealing with something like this, um, or wondering about the wall or any of your walls or fences and things like that around your property perimeter. So what this one was is a wall in the back, which is probably about 20 feet tall. And she was talking with her neighbor, then they were kind of complaining to each other about, well, your water drips on, well, no, that your water floods into my property, and well, you're not taking care of my wall. It's got weeds on it, and you're not cleaning it, and it's got moss on it. Well, all this kind of stuff. So then the owner calls me up and says, well, who owns this wall? It looks like it's a new wall. But then I thought about it a moment and realized that that wall had to be built prior to the house being put on it. So it's probably a 60, 70, 80-year-old wall. But she said, well, it looks new on the front. Doesn't look like an ancient wall. It doesn't look like the neighbor's back walls either. Different kind of rock. Well, yeah, different owners use different types of rocks. They won't, no mason matches them unless they're asked to. And then I was thinking about it. Well, it could have had, it could be a double wall, two walls paired with each other. Here's the old wall and here's the new wall. And they could have put a new facade on it to strengthen it. And she said, well, now it's encroaching into my property. I said, you don't want to go there. You definitely don't want to go there, because if you had to rebuild it, you have to rebuild it on your own property. And building a 20-foot high wall would probably cost you 100 to $200,000. I mean, you were talking a structural monstrosity. And when you build giant walls like that, it's built like an iceberg. It's mostly underground. The foundation has to be massive. It's like basically two-thirds under and one-third up. There's some ratio like that for walls, but it depends on the width of it and such. But these are moss rock walls, so you have to do a pretty good job. And who knows if they put rebar in between everything and uh, and whatnot. So and then there was another concept that came up, is the wall may have moved in the downward direction, which is the subject property. So that wall might have been built on the neighbor's property, but subsequently moved over the last 60, 70, 80 years. Probable. Um, the other thing is, way back yesterday, lots of people did party walls, and a party wall just said that the wall would be shared, it would straddle the property line. It wouldn't specify whether it was 50-50 or 60-40 or 30-70. It could have been, it was just straddling the property line. And who knows what it's doing underground. You can't see it anymore, so who knows how they did it. But it could have been a party wall agreement, meaning that they possibly shared the cost on it. Maybe there was no shared cost, but it was allowed to be built as a party wall so that they could build it along the property line and not have such a huge footing be on one property versus another. It is, after all, supporting the upper lot, so that's a benefit. Um, so there's no recording usually of these ancient agreements. It was just done. And then you have subsequent owners over the decade, and that information gets lost. And because it's not recorded, nor it's not normally recorded from way back then, um, that information's lost. So you don't know if it was built as a party wall. And there would have been an agreement that should have survived the all the years, but you don't know that. So another reason not to mess with it. Um, the party wall, land moving, a paired wall that makes it look like it's one wall, but it's not. So one wall is on the subject property when the other wall is on the other property. Hard to know all these things. But again, the advice on all of this is don't mess with it. It's doing it's doing a benefit to both properties. Believe me, a huge wall like that costs tons of money, and you don't want to be building walls that are on the subject property and only and not being shared like that. That would be crazy. You don't want to get into the expense of that. If it's supporting the properties, it's a benefit to both properties. Just leave it. Okay, there was one more issue, and that water is coming out of the weep holes in the wall and flooding the lower property. And it's saturating the soil, the yard, coming off the roof from the other home and saturating the yard and going into the other property. And I said, well, I just saw a property um, where they had a similar problem, uh, tons of water coming out of the weep holes. And what they did for a solution was to not cap it, but to put a pipe over it and redirect the water to some other location off the property, onto the street, into the street gutters, that sort of thing. Um, so you've got the pipe coming out the wall, and what you can see here is a wall. I don't see a weep hole, but if there was a pipe coming out of that, you would attach that like a French drain, and then take that French drain down to the corner of the property line and then take it out to the street where there's rain gutters, water gutters, and such. That would be the smart thing to do. And that would solve the problem of dumping all that water onto the subject property. You want to get water away from your property so we have expansive clay soils here, which shrink and expand. You want to get as much water away from the property as possible. Okay, so that's that. All right, and well, I love these kind of questions. They're so interesting, and there's so many different solutions and so much information that I've had for all these decades doing real estate. Love sharing it. So if you have any property needs, love to hear from you. Uh, Buying, selling, or property management, or have a question, ask Doug. All right, until next week. Thanks so much.